I saw springtime for Hitler and Germany. It's terrible. It's just such a funny song. It's a terrible, terrible, terribly terrible song. That's funny. It's not funny. But it is. Okay. It is springtime. Somehow, I seem to associate springtime with the Declaration of Independence. Am I wrong about that? I don't have anything. I don't bear a grudge against Great Britain. We've basically broken ties. They might be our political allies, but we do not have any governmental affiliation. That's to say, we're not part of the Commonwealth. Canada and Britain are still associated. It's okay, but I think it was right what we did that we declared independence, don't you? It's a pretty brilliant document. But elements of racism, referring to Native Americans as savages, see, this is why people of color don't always embrace your white Republican point of view, because they are offended. They know when Thomas Jefferson said all men are created equal, he was excluding black men and Native American men. Well, they're not men. I meant all white men are created equal. Still, it's a brilliant document, and I love the principles. And I think it's not wrong to aspire to live up to those principles. And I think America has been a beautiful, shining city on a hill with abuses, but haven't abuses occurred in every country? Slavery is like a deep shame. But remember, folks, I hate to say this, maybe you're going to be mad at me for saying this, because but I will not allow you to be mad at me, because in the North, we were abolitionists, not abolitionists, sorry. Abolitionists. We were trying to stop slavery. We had the Underground Railroad with Harriet Tubman. We tried to help people escape that horrible lifestyle, which was not even their choice. Please give us credit for that. Please. Lincoln believed that slavery was wrong. He didn't start out being a religious man, but at some point he had a conversion, and I think he was a deeply moral human being. I can't imagine that anybody would really criticize Abraham Lincoln after him being assassinated and all that sort of thing. That doesn't make him a saint, but quite honestly, you hear people criticizing George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, but if you could criticize Abraham Lincoln, you may as well criticize Jesus. I'm sorry, he's a great guy. A wonderful man, suffered so much in his lifetime, so much. His wife was crazy. Oh, well. The burden some of us must bear, I suppose. I'm not sure where the world is headed, folks. I ain't gonna lie. Yesterday I went to the store, and pizzas are like $7. A cheap frozen pizza, you used to be able to pick that up for $2.50 or $3.50. Now everything is $7. I got Newman's Own pizza. That was actually cheaper than the other pizzas. I know 100% of the profits go to charity, and my husband says, well, his charities aren't good. I don't know whether they are or not, but I hope I haven't supported something evil by buying those pizzas. But they looked okay. We like a spaghetti sauce. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. If he's interested in cuisine, it's a harmless thing, isn't it? I don't know. If you looked it up, see, there was a time when I wouldn't even go to Dairy Queen because I knew that Warren Buffett had stock in Dairy Queen. And I knew that Warren Buffett was a big supporter of abortion. Like, he's trying to push abortion on the third world. Just abort your babies. I got the abortomatic machine here. It's free to use. Like, what kind of a evil person just goes around the world crusading for abortion? It's not wrong to crusade for birth control, in my opinion. No, it's not wrong to get your cat fixed. It's not wrong to get your dog fixed. It's not wrong to get yourself fixed. Having too many kids, that can cause some strain and pressure, unless you are already Mr. Deep Pockets wealthy heiress person, it's, boy, I don't regret it. I love all the little people in my life, but when they grow up, they might not even like you because they resent the fact that you made them poor, that they grew up in a poor household, that there wasn't money for them to, although we did spoil our older kids, so they're just, entitled. That's all I have to say. We did the best we could. Nothing's ever good enough. Blah, blah, blah. Just fine, if you don't want to communicate with me, it's probably for the best, because I have nothing to say to you either. I mean, I love you. The door is always open for reconciliation, but if you really think you're too good to talk to me, like, oh, I'm too morally pure, what, I would rather not deal with that attitude, quite honestly. I have to deal with a young child who's autistic and kids who are a little bit spoiled and that are younger than 10, and you know what? I don't need the drama from you. I actually don't. I want you to know I'm there to support you. I mean, my support is sincere. And in fact, I think I have good advice to offer and words of wisdom and knowledge and all that. But if it means nothing to you, then I suppose you consider yourself an adult, even if you're not even 20 years old, one of yins. So be it. Someday you're going to regret this, because I'm like the best thing that ever happened to you. No, I shouldn't say that, but I probably am, actually. Okay, enough said. I'm not bitter. There's no point in being frustrated if people... I have to tell you this, okay. When I first married my husband, his grandmother on his dad's side was constantly begging him to come and visit her or call her, and he totally ignored her. Now I'm getting the same treatment, and I'm like, I felt bad about it. I really did. I said, don't you think we should just go and see your grandma? She wants to see the baby, because we had one baby at the time. Yeah, no. It's like, well, that coldness, that can't come from God. I mean, God is not a cold-hearted person. His anger is hot and his love is on fire. There's no coldness about him. It was just really cold to do that. If I had known better, I would have insisted, let's go see your grandmother. And then she died. The first time I even saw her, she was dead in a coffin. Is that right? I'm asking you. I don't know what sins she supposedly committed. I guess she was like a deeply religious person and very proper, and some people in the family didn't like that. But I don't think she was like a female Hitler or anything. Well, I don't think she was, and I feel terrible even to this day. So I understand, but listen, am I going to just go begging for your attention? And, well, no. I mean, if you, like 5 years in a row, you don't wish me Happy Mother's Day, my oldest son, I gave you life, you can pretend why, like when I first got on Facebook, all of a sudden all these people were his mother, he said. That's kind of a kick in the ass, isn't it? Punch in the teeth. You're my mother, blah, blah. I don't know what's wrong with this kid, quite honestly, but I do know, listen, manifestations, just darkness, just pupils becoming tiny, just like shouting and becoming enraged. And I encountered that in like a person who has so much anger. It's like, oh my, why you, there's something wrong with somebody that acts that way. But believe me, my dad acted that way too. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. So it kind of runs in the family. It's just scary, that rage that seems to be almost animalistic, like bestial rage. Oh, I do not miss those days at all. When he was still living here, the day he moved out is probably the best day of my life. Quite honestly. No, I don't resent him. I don't think he's a terrible person, but is he that good of a person to say that I'm such a terrible person? What did I do that was so bad? Yeah, maybe I was a little bit, harsh as a mom. Like maybe I spanked him and stuff. But he was a hyperactive little kid, and I didn't know how to handle it. I was only 20 years old when I gave birth. I was pretty young. I loved him, but that kid was so out of control. He screamed constantly, day and night. That kid would never sleep. And he breastfed constantly, he pooped constantly. So that tells you, he hasn't really changed much. So no, I don't dislike him, but I'm not going to go begging people for I'm not a terrible person. I'm not a person who has no merit. I'm not a person who deserves to be ignored.
Well, there are a lot of people on the internet that are smarter than you, and they seem to be a lot better.
Well, fine, if you think so, but I'm a real human being. I'm not an internet representation. I'm not a hologram. I am a human being. Boy, if you had lived with some of these people, you might not think they're so great. And if you really knew them, if you had to live with them, so. Anyway, I had to have my say there, I suppose. What direction is America headed? I refrained from retweeting or liking some political tweets I saw yesterday because I don't think it's right now what I'm supposed to be doing, being political, because this is more than a political problem, what we're experiencing here in America.
Don't bring it up, Erica.
The Will Smith thing, it's like the perpetual teenager. He always looks like he's fit. I'm sorry.
You're being racist.
I don't know. I can say nothing. I know I can say absolutely nothing. No matter what I say, you're going to hate me, but I don't care. I'm going to say my piece. Okay? I think his wife looked fine, and little barbs that you might throw comedically. I thought if you're a star, you're supposed to have a thick skin, but I really don't know. Quite honestly, it's not my business. But I did see there was an article, might be People Magazine, my side of the story. It's like, your side of the story, I know you kind of overreacted, didn't you? I mean, you can explain it away, but you overreacted. I think you did, but I was never a huge fan of him anyway. Yes, of course I watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Who didn't? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was in high school or college when that first came out. I watched A Different World. I watched The Cosby Show. I watched Sanford and Son. See, I watch all these shows. See how multicultural I don't know. If somebody who has that much fame and fortune and so much staying power is that bitter and angry and easily provoked, they must not be a happy person, right? Wouldn't you think so? They should be content. I mean, don't you think at his age he ought to be kind of fat and kind of jolly looking, but he's not. He's I know he's older than I am, but he looks like he's 15. Okay.
Stop, Erica. You just need to stop it. No.
Okay. Trying. So when I get my tax refund, I'm going to probably pay for this service, but until then, I only have a 15-minute window of opportunity to say things. So sometimes my messages are cut off. I really like having that restriction. I actually do. It's a challenge to me. It's really good. So, I don't know what to say. I think America is a great place. I think immigrants make it better, regardless of what people say. It takes time to adjust, though, to American culture. I realize it does, so let's have patience for one another. Sometimes when somebody's rude to you, you say, well, it's because they're from this country or that country. But then again, aren't people who are born right here in your hometown rude to you too? Why would you ascribe sinister motives to a thoughtless person because they come from another country? But if somebody who is white does the same thing, you're like, well, they're just a jerk, you know. Somehow